or to the
Oh, we actually
Let's
are.
make
very
sure
much.
that we have our audios on our phones.
We actually are. Make sure that we have our audios on our
each
phones.
other.
I think there's a little bit of an echo.
You know what the issue is?
I think there's a little bit of an.
Now it's good because,
Yes.
and this is kind of, I guess, class 101 for those who are doing this type of video on Facebook, broadcasting from Zoom, because if you are used to using Chrome, the way Zoom works with Facebook is Safari, if you have a Mac. So I had both. I had Safari and Chrome open. So you should close one of the two. That was the sound. But anyhow, how are you?
I'm doing great. But before we move forward, let me make sure. Do you want to tag me on social so my friends get a chance to see what we're up to?
Let's do that.
You know, I'm not a very good multitasker when I'm doing a Facebook Live. I think you're a pro already, I know.
No, it's just that I've done it a few times. That's all. We have somebody watching already. Hi. Okay, so I go here, edit. I'm going to make it public. Somebody watching already. Hi. Save, and let me see if I can tag you.
Stuff.
It doesn't allow me to tag you right now.
Not nice.
Let me know what I'm gonna do. I'm going to put you on this.
If that's the case, then I'll just share yours.
No, I'll put you on the subject. It's just that doesn't allow me to.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'll be patient.
I added you kind of like debunking myths in today's housing market with Maggie Martinez.
There it is.
You have it on your wall?
I think so, yeah. Good stuff. Yep. There we are.
Beautiful. Okay. Awesome. And then Andrea, I think she's already watching. Okay. Well, my hands, and then Andrea, I think she's already watching. Okay. Andrea, I think she's.
Hold on. There you go.
I'm actually putting cream in my hands as we speak because it's these dry hands, I can't stand it. Do you use any of these? Do you carry it with you? Hand cream?
You know what? No, but I should, because sometimes I'm a little ashy.
I really like it for hands, and I have it in my bag and everything when I'm driving and there's, red light or something, or we're stuck in traffic. I really enjoy like kind of massaging my hands. I just cannot stand dry hands. I can't even grab. But anyhow, how was your day?
You know what? My day is great. I was being fully transparent. Today was a day that like I had to make the most out of every situation. So I definitely practiced like my positive mindset muscle for sure. But I got through it and everything's going good now. So how about you?
Before I respond, could you actually tell us how to do that? Let's start this one like this. I feel using a little stressful day. Let's start it like that. What's something positive that or grateful or something that you want to say? And then I'll say we'll practice and we're going to dig into the topic.
You know what? This one's going to be easy for me today because, and I mean this wholeheartedly. As we all know, right now, it's a challenging time for a lot of families. It's a challenging time in the business because there's a lot of speculation going on. So I'm super grateful for my referral partners because I really do feel the trust and the support. When you're helping a client, nothing makes a difference for me as a professional as to the client when everybody just collaborates and just comes together. And not only do they do what they're supposed to do, but they go above and beyond for each other. And I felt a lot of that today, even though we had some challenges with, some clients in different stages of the transaction. But it just feels good to know that the people you're working with to help the client are just on like all hands on deck, good energy. What can I do to help you? Let's have the conversation in a different way with our client to make sure that we take care of, those frustration levels, right? Because there's a lot that happens in a transaction that, depending on the borrower and their understanding or just their stress levels, they can perceive it in one way or the other. So I'm super grateful for my real estate partners today because they all came through. How about you? What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for the clear to close that you sent us.
Oh, yes. That was like a smooth sailing one. Yep.
Yes, that kind of, put a smile in our faces, in our hearts, but also in our clients, right?
Yeah.
They're way ahead of a schedule, so thank you for great work. And hopefully we can get to the closing table very soon, even sooner than our date, and our client is happy in her new home. So I'm very excited, and thank you for your hard work and your team. Your team has been great to work with. So that's what I'm grateful for. Now let's get started.
Yes.
Well, for those who are joining us for the first time, or my goodness, we'll watch the replay. My name is Ainhoa.
For those who are doing this for the first time.
Realty of Chicago. And our guest today is Maggie Martinez with Guarantee Rate, great loan officer. In today's episode, we're bringing back these episodes now that it's a little colder outside and we have a little bit more time. It gets darker. Earlier, we can be on our phones or on our laptops. We're bringing this fall and winter some of our episodes back, and especially now that there's so much of, as you said, people speculations and people talking about what's happening in the market. Well, as the professionals, it is our obligation, our job to debunk, I just learned that word, those myths that they are outside, and helping our clients making decisions if they are ready for them and not shy away. So I am excited to discuss the stats and the status of the market with you as a loan officer for this first episode of the new series of this fall 2023. I mean, oh my God, I just jumped a year, 2022. Okay, Maggie, well, let's get started with, is it a good time to buy now? What's your first instinct? What were your
That's a good question. You know what? I feel like a broken record, right? Because I think that the question always comes back to the why, right? I think everybody individually has different goals, different time to prepare too, right? Because I'll give you an example. There's a lot of families where, to be honest with you, there's a lot of families that can simply get qualified, right? They've had their employment, they know their credit's taken care of, they've been saving for some time, and they have the option and they have leverage to be able to buy. It's a leisure almost, right? To buy when really the timing is perfect. There's other families that don't have that leisure. And what do I mean by that? For example, I have a lot of self-employed borrowers that have to consciously prepare for 2 years in advance with their documentation, with their income to be able to buy. So I have a lot of buyers right now that I talked to back in 2020, and they've been lining up themselves to buy in 2022 or 2023. So for these borrowers, it means that they've already, they've been filing their taxes the way they're supposed to, be mindful of how much income they're putting on their tax returns. So for them coming to this market and realizing that there's such a shift, and a lot of it is normalizing, right? I do want to really do call it that. Like there's been a balance in the market. The rates, there's no secret to that. The rates are high. Okay, they are high. We're not gonna say that this is normal or it shouldn't be. They are high. But for a family that's been already strategizing for the last year and a half or 2 years, can they really afford to put it on pause and wait until the rates go back down? Is that going to happen in a year or two? How much is that going to cost them? Not only in rent, but it's also positioning their income to consistently be able to qualify until the time is right. So I feel like some folks have a little bit more wiggle room than others. But I do think that the biggest and the most important key here is your budget, your monthly affordability, and then also the why, right? Why are you buying and what's pushing you in that direction? Why do you have to make a decision? Why are you standing in front of like the crossroads of, am I renting or am I buying? And if you are one of those clients that is there, then you clearly have to come, you have to make a decision because you need housing. We all need housing, but you have to be very conscious of how you determine if it's going to make sense for you and if the numbers align with what your goals are. And I don't know if you've seen this, Ainhoa, but I think that for some people, in terms of affordability, because of the interest rate, it might mean having to take a step back and buy something that's not, what they imagine. Maybe because the affordability is it's different now because of the interest rate. Some families have to, start a little bit smaller to be able to get into homeownership if they're buying in this market right now. But that's my take.
We've seen that, and to just piggyback what you said about the interest rate, is not a secret, obviously, to anyone, that they are higher, not necessarily the highest they have ever been, but they are higher. However, there are ways to make things happen for those who really want it. We all know reality is things have changed, but other things have changed for better. As you said, it's normalizing a market. And the housing need is still a need. People, unfortunately, die and their sons or daughters need to sell that property. People relocate for work. People have babies. People get married. So life goes on, and housing is an essential need. So that is something that we need to keep in mind. And those who do have the need or the want to actually stop renting and going into a purchase or invest in real estate, let's talk with a professional about what options are there to secure a loan vehicle, but it's still making it happen in this market. So I actually have a little thing that I wanted to share. Let me see if I can share a screen right now. Just to talk about this, like then and now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this conversation keeps on being like, oh, if we wait, let me see, percent.
Yeah, that's a big topic, right? Like, because a lot of folks are very hung on the 2021, 2020 interest rates. And a lot of my clients I know for sure are beating themselves up, and they're like, gosh darn it, I'm sitting here looking at my review mirror and looking at these 3%, 4% rates. But let's talk about how it was when we were buying in that market.
Exactly. That market was also not for everybody. We needed to practice a lot of patience. We needed to drive and see many homes in a lot of cases, because they were, as of July of 2021, the average homes, offers that a home will have was 17. So one house and 17 families or people wanting to buy the property. So 16 wouldn't make it, and they have to go again, and again, and again. In some cases, people, they're like, you know what? I don't have 50,000 to put on top of this price. I don't have the time to wait any longer to see if I can get into a home. I need to renew my lease because things are just not working out. My offer is not being accepted. And I'm buying a property with not even, I'm just jumping into properties because of this sense of urgency. So the fact that now we have a time to reflect, we have more time to visit homes, we have more possibilities of getting seller credits. And now we're going to go into compare those. And that's why we came up with this little visual aid to put in perspective. Because 2020 and 2021, even though we just put 2021, 2020 and 2021 was free money for all. So whoever got into a home, great. They got into a good home or so home for lower interest rate. However, this is by National Association of Realtors, 18%, these are clear stats, 18% of the people that bought in 2020 and 2021 are not happy with their purchase. And they're happy with their monthly payment and with the interest.
Oh, wow. That's a big number.
Exactly. They're not happy with their home because, well, let's look into this really quickly. We have, and in the pros and cons, we had lower interest rates. We know that. And we also knew that the rents were continuing to go higher. So it is a pro to buy. But where were the inconvenience of this market or that market? We had higher prices. That's also not a secret. We had no seller credits. And for those who don't know what seller credits is, it's a help from the seller to our buyers in closing cost, in inspection credits afterwards, in you putting into buying a point into your interest rate. You use money, funds from the seller to help you with your purchase. That was not even in the picture. And for people that they were really competing with many other offers on the table, we didn't have credits. And if they didn't have more money in their banks, in their savings, if they weren't that fluid with their cash, they wouldn't be able to purchase because they didn't have money to put on top. Asking price was, or listing price was 300,000. Well, offers were coming in at 350 and 360. That's already 50 and 60,000 over in order to win against other offers, and absolutely no credits. Bidding wars, that's kind of what I just mentioned, going into fighting mode and being as aggressive as possible. We couldn't even have a conversation as an agent. That's so frustrating. You were mentioning this yesterday to me. How, as an agent, how did you feel? Like the client said, well, what do I even need you? You cannot negotiate anything for me, because our advice for the most part was, how much more can we go higher? How much money do you have? You know, and
I remember that part of the I remember feeling that, right? Because on the lending side, you have your client and your client's out with your realtor, and the clients would come back and vice versa. Like, and for those of you that don't know, seller credits, it goes to cover your closing costs. Your closing cost is one of the two buckets. It's not your down payment. Your down payment is your minimal investment, right? What you have to pay out of pocket. So then when you're getting financed, the bank pays the difference. Your closing cost is you paying title, insurance, appraisal, the city, the state. So these are additional fees. I remember talking to clients, and there was more clients looking to buy, but I remember telling them, listen, unless you have money for your down payment and your closing costs, and potentially, and you're about to probably talk about it in a bit, a little bit of a cushion for an appraisal gap, it's going to be tough. And I asked her yesterday, right? I'm like, do you remember how you felt as a realtor? Like, didn't you feel like you were just, trying to do something for your client, and it was almost impossible. Sometimes you couldn't even go into the houses and see the home because they would only show it one day and it was fully booked. And I think I'm sure this happened to you, but I had some clients that would come and tell me, like, Maggie, we submitted an offer, but we submitted it without seeing the house because we can't even get in the house. So I believe that statistic, that 20% unhappy buyers, I 100% believe that. Mm-hmm.
We met with somebody on Sunday that they said, oh, my friend bought with lower interest rate, but she had to purchase the home as is. She had to waive the inspection. And by the way, I will never advise waiving an inspection, but that's something that they did in order to win. You as a buyer have the right to perform an inspection of the property, to know the condition of the property and see if that's acceptable to you, if you can budget yourself for the future for certain repairs, and whether or not you can afford the condition of the property to move forward. Well, a lot of people were advised to just waive your inspection, just waive your right, really, to check on the home. we're not talking about a pair of shoes. We're talking about a house with plumbing, with electrical, with windows, with roof, with foundation. And this lady that we met on Sunday said that her friend has now a major issue in the foundation of the property and has no money to fix it. Now, what is her life like now? She's obviously stressed out, depressed, and she has all these issues and is trying to find a way to find who is responsible for this. But in the end, she signed that she was buying the home as is and waiving an inspection, which was her right to do. And that's something that we saw a lot of the scenarios, unfortunately, in the last 24 months.
And you know what's important to highlight, because let's be the devil's advocate here, right? Because I also feel like, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier, the why, right? Because if we go back in time and I'm sitting in front of a client, whatever, a year ago, and I had a lot of clients that were coming, they were like, oh my God, Maggie, I'm so exhausted. I don't know if I'm ever going to find a house. We keep getting outbidded. I'm just going to try anymore. And my advice to them at the time was like, well, honey, you just make sure, again, right, that whatever you do, you're comfortable with, that your why is strong enough, because does it make sense to take advantage of the low rates? It does, but not at the cost of you sacrificing so many things off your list, right? So if you have to wait, then you wait. But if we can circle back to what's going on now, which is the second half of the slide here. I already looked at it and I'm like, yep. How is it for you as an agent, right? And I'll talk about how it is for me as a lender in a little bit, but how is it for you as an agent? How do you feel now?
I actually love it because we get to perform our job. Our job is to find the most profitable ways for our clients to have the best interest at heart, to get the best terms, to show the homes that they have all those requirements, to take the time to think about. It was like, hey, last year, if you like this home, don't even think about it. Just submit an offer. We'll deal with this later. It was just submitting offers in the car, on the phone. It was just really insane, the sense of urgency, and it causes stress to the client too. So now we have a little bit more time to think about whether or not this is actually the area that we're looking for. Do the school district match their search? Are they interested in X, Y, and Z? Do they need a driveway because they do have a truck for work that they need to
Whether or
have
not
it?
this is like,
So it's a lot of those requirements that we had to brush off in order for them to go into a home as soon as possible because they wanted to take advantage of that. Obviously, we did take our time. We want to be like, oh, we just left and right up to our clients, just made an offer like that. We did take our time to advise our clients, but we were working around the clock. So now we have more control as a buyer. It is not as much of a seller's market. Again, I don't like generalizing either. Obviously, every type of property is different. Every price range is different. Every area is different. But overall, especially for the people that we serve, we are seeing these, shock, frozen, should we wait? Well, let's find a way of having you going into a home. If that is your desire, let's find a way, as long as you're comfortable with your monthly payment and you can afford that monthly payment, let's build around that monthly payment. Forget about what the interest rate is right now. You're not marrying that anyway. You can refinance. You will get a call from Maggie and for myself when time comes that the interest rate is lower. But let's prepare something for you in that specific comfort zone for your monthly payment. But then you have all of these pros of buying in this market, which is the price adjustments. We are seeing properties that stay longer in the market. We can negotiate now a little bit of a price reduction. We can ask for seller credits. And to give you an example, we just locked somebody else with $12,000, and it's not even there only. $12,000 in credits. So our client was able now to negotiate her rates, buy some point down, and get into a comfort zone for her monthly payment. She's buying a multi-unit. And the rehabber, or the owner of the property, also agreed to fix everything that happened in the inspection. No home is perfect. They will be findings in that inspection report after you go under contract, you do an inspection and you have a list of things that they needed to be addressed, maybe sooner, maybe later. Some of them are maintenance, some of them are safety concerns. So we made a list, and this time we were like, let's just ask, what's the worst case scenario? Before it would have been like, oh, cancellation letter coming your way. Let's not ask for anything. Well, now we not only have $12,000 that she's going to use for her home purchase, but also every single thing, including she didn't like the shelving in the closets, all closets, and that's being done as well.
Okay.
So choices is something that was not even able to be done before. So that's another problem of this type of market. No more bidding wars. Again, case by case. We still submitted for today, and there are a couple of offers in there. So it's still happening. It's not like the market is just dying today. There's some people that they see what we're talking about, and they are still shopping. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Our economy needs to rebalance and normalize. Appraisal waivers. This is something that you can actually catch on what it is an appraisal waiver and what's an appraisal first, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for
So
sure. There's what happened?
You go, what's an appraisal and what's an appraisal waiver?
So, you know what, interestingly enough, you're able to get an appraisal waiver on a property where, I mean, simply put, you don't need to have an appraisal to get financing, which our previous client didn't need one, which was super amazing. We actually ended up ordering one just because she wanted to have one for like her peace of mind, right? She just wanted to be aligned with the value of her home. So yeah, that's something that can come in super, super duper in handy. But I wanted to share something with you before I lost my train of thought. And I wanted to put a little bit of emphasis on it. And when it comes down to the, and I'm going to do a little bit of a comparison from 2021 and 2022. And I know you probably dealt with some of these situations. A lot of our clients were buying, and aside from not getting anything and having to overbid and sometimes not even being able to thoroughly look through the homes, there was towards the end, we had a period where they were asking to have, they were asking the buyers if they were willing to pay an appraisal gap, right?
Yes.
So what this meant was, hey, if you're buying the house, let's say that I have the house listed for 200,000, you're offering me, because you're overbidding, right? Because you want to win against the other 15 families, you're offering me 230. So now me, the seller, I'm going up to you and I'm telling you, that's fine. I will give you the contract. I will accept your offer. But if the appraisal, because remember, the market values were high. Market values meaning what clients were willing to pay, not necessarily the actual values of the property. So they would tell you if the property comes in short, let's say it comes in at 210, is your buyer willing to pay that $20,000 difference, because the bank's not going to finance if the value is not there. And I actually got to talk to a handful of clients that they agreed to pay that gap. Some of them were smaller than others, but statistically, nationwide, most clients were paying about 6% over an asking price, which is a good chunk of change. So for those paying over 6%, that difference, you also have to take into consideration that is part of your savings now. Do you recall this? Do you recall, having these conversations?
Yes. And it's funny, on the seller side, when we represent a seller, we ask for it because we wanted to get the most for our client. But on the buyer side, we only did it once, and in 24 months. We were strong enough, and that's the part that we did negotiate it. And we did not want to go over what the price was. in any case. So we just did it once because the client completely fell in love with the property, and we did have a home sale contingency, which for those who don't know is you have to sell your home in order to buy the other one. So we went in a contract, multiple offer situation with a home having to be sold. But we prepared everything at the universe aligned. We put so much work and we were able to make it happen. But that's the only case we agreed. And she did ask for 25,000 in appraisal gap. We said we just only go up to 5.
5.
And we made it. It wasn't needed. We signed it, or the client signed it, but it wasn't needed because it did appraise. I was very confident of the value actually, and I was like, no, we're just going to be just fine. But for the most part, no, we did not advise our client to sign an appraisal gap. No, even though in some cases, if it was a small amount and it will mean that the client is going to stay in the market for longer and renting longer, in the end, that money would have been the appraisal gap. So if that was the case, we will have that conversation with the client. It wasn't needed. We did have our own technique on making it through multiple offer situations, and we lost a few, but we won.
Team Ainhoa was crushing it.
You don't want to drop the mic, yes. Not to take too long, I want these to be quote unquote short conversation, but obviously having you and me on camera, it's not going to be a short conversation. This is some of the pros, obviously, that we're discussing here. So the main point of this conversation today is actually focusing on that yes, rates are higher, but there are ways to making it, as I said, focusing on just what's comfortable for you and your monthly payment, and build upon that, including your search. We'll customize your search upon that. But let's go into the next slide. I think that was something that it was a case study. Actually, these 2 homes were sold by our team. And I just wanted to put in practice what we just said, right? So then this is a home that was sold last year, 2021, I think it was April. And it was listed at $339,900. And obviously our buyer needed to go higher, and it ended up being closing at $350,000. So that means overpaying already to $11,000. Obviously, concessions or seller credits, it's absolutely zero. There was no help from the seller. We bought as is. The client had a long list of inspection items, but unfortunately, they had to take them all, and the violations from the town and everything, because otherwise they wouldn't have won anything. So savings zero, I would even say minus, just because they did have to go higher. They tap on their extra savings to go higher, and also they had to do many things in the property.
And you guys sold both of these houses, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And this one was sold in Elmwood Park. This is a neighbor of yours, really.
Yeah.
Where you live, and it was listed at $339,000. This was closed, I think 3 weeks ago. We closed actually September 20th, and this family really needed a new home. They had a baby and everything. We went shopping. They knew the interest rate went a little bit higher, and from $339,000, after 22 days in the market, or within at that time, so we can go a little bit lower and also ask for some credits. So we got initial $7,500. So these helped the client because those were seller money. Oops, let me go back. I click on something too soon. And the property has the same square feet, the same condition, the same number of bedrooms, same number of bathrooms, same style. It's just kind of the perspective of the photo, but it's really the same style. And the monthly payment is on the right side, is slightly higher, about $130 more per month. But is that $130 going to pay you with time, or help you save money now, versus what this nightmare of battling with other offers was at that time? And obviously our clients like, oh my God, I'm getting $7,500. That means I'm saving $7,500 on me, and they are refinishing the floors. They already did. They are refinishing the entire house, 3 floors of living space. They changed the floors, hardwood floors, new hardwood floors, because of that money. So that's my point. We have to work with your budget but it's a great opportunity to go into a home and have many concessions. We're talking on the buyer side. On the seller side, there's some struggles now because they need to be a little bit more aggressive with the pricing too. But that's gonna.
You know what? Before you change the slide, I want to do a quick math because I like it. I need to do it, and I want to show you guys just really quickly, just using this example. Obviously, with the information you shared, these are two very similar homes. Obviously, the same price range. One sold for $350, the other one sold for a lot less, right? So if you simply, and this is a math that I encourage everybody to do when they're comparing this market to last market, because I have a lot of clients that were buying then and they're still buying now, and they're going through the adjustment period of like, oh my God, I remember the first like they're holding that first pre-approval as if it were like, you know, like, oh my God, you know, they almost want to cry, right? But one of the comparisons that I encourage people to do is this. You take the difference between these two payments. So you take 27.36, let's round it up, minus 25.91. It's $145. And then the savings that you highlighted here, which, mind you, this is just the savings. Are you including the savings on the price reduction? You're not.
I put the price on the credit combined, but there are other, because we did inspection too, and they did fix things too.
Okay,
and
so
give me your math.
But mind you, you only included the price reduction on the list price. You're not comparing it to what this other one sold for $350, which is a lot more, right?
No,
so
if in that case you save nothing and you overpaid,
right? You're just doing, yeah. You're not even comparing the savings on the purchase price. But let's leave that alone. So if you take the 12,400, right? 12,400. And you divide that by $145 that your payment is more now, that equals to about 85. That's how many times 145 going into the savings. We divide that by 12 months. It's going to take you 7 years to break even on that good, you know, on that savings.
That good deal. So
whatever you buying on whenever this sold in September. So from buying in September, which the rates, I mean, they're a little higher now, but they were like in the 6, somewhere between the 5s and the 6. From buying in September to buying in back then in April, it's literally going to take you 7 years with the amount of savings you did just up front. So this is the math that I encourage everybody to do, because a lot of times we're hyper focusing on the interest rate, which it is important for budget purposes. Don't get me wrong. The payment needs to be comfortable, period. But when you are able to afford at a bigger scale and you're able to take a step back and look at the whole picture, this is the savings that you're really looking at, because this is what you really need to compare. So it would take a family 7 years.
And in those 7 years, aren't we thinking
you're refinancing already? Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost and if you even take it a step further to your other slide, right? Like where you're listing what are the cons of buying now? Yeah, the only downfall of buying right now, it's the rate. But you wouldn't have all those benefits if the rates were still low.
Correct. And to that, and that's the question that we're asking our client, right? It's like, why don't you want to buy now? Because of the interest rate. Okay, if I can help you or we can help you fix that to your comfort zone, are you willing to buy now?
Yeah.
Okay, then make it happen, right? Because we're preparing on your monthly comfort zone. And the good thing is, like, there's some price readjustments. So now we are seeing the pricing, and we will continue to see the prices going to what it was prior to pandemic. And a healthy economy, home appreciation should go from 3 to 5% per year. In 2020, homes appreciated, this is national stats, 32% by the end of the year. That is very, very unhealthy for the economy. But at that time, the Feds made that decision because they needed to push the economy through COVID. So that was, something that needed to happen. And now we're going back to that. I'll go to the next slide. which it goes into rates and recessions. All this time that we have had in history, the economy is cyclical, right? It goes into highs and lows depending on what's needed in all markets, and not just in real estate. But we see that also in the peaks, or where we have seen those rates higher, the home appreciation has actually continued. So only in 2008 is when really the market crashed, because it was poor lending, not because the market was readjusting with interest rates. It was because of poor lending practice. And that's already been regulated. That's not going to happen. So just like in the rest of them, there'll be highs and lows, and that's part of the economy.
Well, the main reason for the market crash is that lenders weren't respecting, clients' affordability to repay back a loan, right?
Yeah.
So, which is hand in hand with making sure you can sustain that monthly mortgage payment. Yeah. But I love this slide because it shows you, and I'm assuming that the highlight are the housing crisis, and you have the rates and the recession. Because there's no doubt, right? Like we're obviously going through some times. This is the part where you really do want to internalize, like, where do you stand all around in your economy within your household, which is the most important economy you need to look at. It's funny because I was talking, my family lives back home. They live in another country. And I was just talking, recession and this and that. And my mom's funny. She's like, Maggie, you want to talk about recession? There's a recession here every day. Like we live in a recession 24/7. And I'm like, oh, I know, Mom. I'm like, I know. But, speaking of what we're going through and what we're being exposed to, like we're going through a lot, right? And nobody wants to be that person that is buying in the bad timing, right? Like just nobody likes that stigma over them, right? Like if and we hear it, you hear it from family, you hear it from friends, and everybody has something to say. I want to dive into the big, what we were discussing yesterday, because the issue inevitably is the interest rate right now, right? Interest rates are high. So let's talk a little bit about some of the options that we have,
Let's go into this.
Yes. Oh, this is a good one. So I'm going to tell you guys exactly what this graph is. But one of the things that I want everyone that is in the position of buying right now to consider is obviously get educated on the mortgage products and what are the options to buy down a rate. Like what are your buy down rate options? What can we do to try to minimize our monthly payment, right? Obviously we already talked that sellers are more willing to participate now, and they're more willing to help us with seller credits. And one of the main things as a buyer is I always tell my clients this: when you're buying, you have two options. You either focus on the least cash to close, meaning I'm coming in with the least money as possible, or you're focusing on coming in with the lowest, like the best monthly terms, right? So for us right now, what are some of the options that we have to lower that monthly payment? This is a great option. And I like to share this with you guys because it's all over TikTok. So it's like a popular one, the 2-1 buy down option, where essentially, I know. I wish I did more TikToks. I'm not good at it. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there now. But the 2-1 buy down, it's all over social. Like it is on TikTok. A lot of people are asking about it, and it is a great option. Okay. And essentially, just to simplify it, aside from your fixed rates, which is what we're used to, right? You have your 30-year fixed mortgage. You also have your ARM products. And I'll touch base on ARM products a little bit in a second. Buying your interest rate permanently, right? So like you're negotiating, you call your lender's going to give you what is the market rate that based on your parameters, what you qualify for. And they're going to tell you, hey, these are your options. You can buy down your rate. How do you buy down your rate? 1% equals 1 discount point. We always quote these on points, basis points. That's how we quote these. Everyone talks the same language. Depending on your loan amount, it's how expensive the buy down will be. So your mortgage banker can tell you, hey, if you pay half a point, 3/4 of a point, or a point, this is where your rate is going to land you. Now, some of the things that I want everyone to pay attention to is that when you're buying down a rate, it's like any other deal. You're buying, right? So you're paying. We'll talk about where the money's coming from, but you're paying to get a lower interest. It needs to make sense. That same math that I did earlier, you can do that. You're going to take, what is the payment with the rate that I'm getting? What is the payment with the buy down option? The difference between one payment and the other, that's your savings. So you have to take that savings and divide it by how much it's costing you to obtain that savings, to really figure, oh, if I'm buying down this rate and I'm saving $60, how long before I actually break even on my savings, right? That makes sense. So you have to have these conversations to see like, oh, it makes sense. I'm going to spend X amount of money upfront to get a cheaper interest. And by X time, I would have break even where I'm going to start really enjoying the benefits of me paying for that discount. This option is a great option. It's the the 2-1 buy down option. Here you're going to have the example. The concept of this is that you have a temporary rate for the first 2 years. So in this scenario, we have a loan that's $400,000, client putting 20% down. The original rate, the qualifying rate, which is the permanent rate, is 6.99. The client needs to, you the buyer need to qualify with a 6.99 because that's going to be your permanent rate on this 30-year fix example. But you're going to be able to enjoy a temporary buy down. So year one, the rate's going to be 4.99 on this scenario. Year two, the rate's going to be 5.99. And year three, the rate's going to be 6.99. And right on the right side, you're going to see the savings, the monthly savings on that payment. So year one, you're saving $513. Year two, you're saving $269. And then year three and the rest of the 30-year term, your interest rate is going to be 6.99. So the overall savings.
I actually have a question. So if, let's say, in 13 months or within that first and second, or right after the second year where you have that rate, is there any penalties? Let's say interest rates do go a little bit down and I prefer to refinance. Is there any penalty, or do I have any penalty if I refinance? Can I refinance, or do I have to stick to this program?
You can refinance whenever you want or sell. Isn't that lovely? Yes, it's an awesome option.
Right? So it was TikTok. I was expecting you to start dancing.
So here's the caveat that this buy down, it has to come from a seller credit. So you, the agent, being as amazing as you are, and now having the room to negotiate seller credits, you can negotiate seller credits to buy down the rate. It can come from the buyer. That's a caveat. So this is how the seller can motivate the buyer, right? This is another way the seller can help the buyer. You do have to be careful because we do have to stay within our concession limits. So on a conventional loan, the max you can get is 3%. So if your buy down requires the whole 3% or half of that, then we have to make sure that, that we pay attention to those details, right? So your realtor and your lender need to be like super, super connected. And you, the buyer, going back to what I was just saying earlier, you have to understand that you can't, you have to pick what's more important for you. Because the minute that you give up your seller concessions to do a 2-1 buy down option, you are essentially owning your closing cost. So now you're having to come in with your down payment and with your closing cost. But then you're able to buy down your rate. So if you're a buyer, that what's most important for you is to have the lowest monthly payment possible, this is a great option for you. But you have to make sure that you align your pockets for it. But if you're somebody that's like, hey, I really want to keep as much money as I can in my pocket, then guess what? We're going to have to take the rate that's available, right? And then just make sure that because you're taking the market rate, which right now it's somewhere in the 7s for some people, that you are budgeting well, planning for that monthly payment. Nobody, not me, not you, Ainhoa, not anyone, no one knows what's going to happen. You know, rumor has it, and which I do think it's going to happen, is that rates are going to eventually adjust. A lot of mortgage companies, and if you're shopping right now, you might have to pay points just to get a rate. Not even to buy down a rate, just to get a rate. The reason for this is because investors, us lenders, we already foresee the market getting better quickly. So when the market gets better quickly, what is everyone going to do the minute the rates drop? They're going to refinance.
We're going to go back to multiple offer situations, as-is properties, no seller credits, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, on that note, but on the mortgage side, people are going to refinance. So mortgage companies know that they're trying to make an effort to make their profits up front. So you might be a buyer that's looking for a house right now, and you would be surprised when your lender tells you, you have to pay half a point to get a rate, FHA loan. That's not even to get a lower rate, to get a rate, right? So all of this it's actually somewhat of a good indicator that everybody foresees that the rates are going to get better soon, and people are going to refinance. And because people are going to refinance soon, it doesn't make sense for a lender to give you all this money and then getting paid off in a couple of months, and they're not really making a profit. That's really what it comes down to, right? So it's a good sign. To what you were just mentioning about the market's going to get crazy again, you know, the inventory issue is still there. A lot of people still need houses. I talk to a lot of folks, and I talk to my clients. What we're seeing right now, it's like a pinch hose. I call it like a pinch hose. When you grab a hose and you pinch it so the water doesn't come out. That's what these rates are doing. That's what the Federal Reserve, that's what they want to do. They want people to stop buying. So they're grabbing that hose and they're bending it. Stop. The water needs to stop. But the minute that opens up again and everything starts flowing, these buyers are going to start hitting the market again. Why? Because rents are expensive. Buyers need homes. We're behind. We're short on inventory. So you have to choose. Do you want to buy in this market where you have all those pros? You can negotiate prices. You can negotiate seller credits. You can possibly even lean on an option like the 2-1 buy down to have a temporary comfortable, payment if you qualify for it. And then when the market gets nice and sweet, you just refinance. You're not fighting for a house. You're just standing in line to refinance with your mortgage lender. Or do you want to wait for that market? And, you might be duking it out with some people to get into a home. So that's, yeah.
I love this.
Do you like this program?
I do. I do. I see the goods and in this market.
It's an option. It's an option.
In the end, it's all about that need and that why, as you said. And if we can make it work for you as a buyer, and we can find a way to help you achieve that goal, either an investment or your first home, stop renting. In the end, rent is 100%. I know this is as cliche as it can sound, but rent is 100% interest because you don't see absolutely any of that. And to that note is one of the consultations also we had on Sunday. They were paying in rent $2,000. So wow. That is $24,000 a year. So those $24,000, can you start building equity in your own property for future That's even another topic, right? To start building your own equity and your own wealth into your home. So that's that, Maggie. Do you give me permission?
We always overdo it. I know. We always.
I know. We've been saying that this was going to be 20 minutes and it's like 6:57.
We're shy of the hour.
Let me stop sharing the screen and I'm going to do this gallery looking for a quick minute to just say thank you, Maggie, for your time, for your patience, for your expertise, and for your Clear to Close again. We're very excited for our client to get the homes to her new home, especially because she had some little issues also, and this is going to bring her some happy moments. So
Joy.
thank you for your time and for being with us today. This is the first episode of the new series for this fall and winter on what's happening in the market. And we'll be back next week. Thank you, Maggie.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you a bunch. And well, you already know, any mortgage questions, real estate advice, anything I can help you with, I'm here.
Do me a favor, actually. Can you put in the comments your phone number or the best email to contact you at?
For sure. I will. Absolutely. Thank you,
Awesome.
girlfriend.
Next time, I'll make sure that we check in case there are any questions or any hellos.
Yes, we do leave some time behind. Yeah, we'll go to the chat and we'll answer if there's any questions there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody, see you next week, Tuesday.
Bye.